Our opening words today are from Valerie Kaur, who is a Sikh civil rights leader and best-selling author. These words are from her book, See No Stranger. It turns out it is extremely difficult to draw close to someone you find absolutely abhorrent. How do we listen to someone when their beliefs are disgusting, or enraging, or terrifying? An invisible wall forms between us and them, a chasm that seems impossible to cross. We don't even know why we should try to cross it. In these moments, we can choose to remember that the goal of listening is not to feel empathy for those we differ in opinion from, or even to validate their ideas, or even to change their mind in the moment. Our goal is to understand them. What a beautiful assembly of bodies and souls we have here today. Good morning, welcome to Minnesota Valley UU Fellowship. My name's Laura, I'm the minister here. It's good to see you all this morning. Also working on the crew for this morning's service. We've got Richard back on tech. Tom and Greg are leading our theme and discussion this morning. Lark is playing beautiful music. That was wonderful. Nicole's leading our music ministries. And Leslie Swenson, we have two Leslies now. Leslie Swenson and Karen Olson, we have more than one Karen as well, are they're song leading today. Is that right? Fantastic. Blue Team's on hospitality. Thank you, Blue Team. What have you come here seeking today? The healing balm of music vibrating through your body, the comfort of being held in community, inspired discussion to stimulate your mind and open your heart, the embodiment of singing with others. Perhaps you're not entirely sure what brought you here. Maybe it's habit, or maybe it's curiosity. Maybe it is a deep need to feel how you are woven into the great mystery that surrounds and holds us, binding one to all. Whatever brought you, we're so glad that you're here with us today. If you're visiting for the first time or early in your journey with us, we have a visitor form downstairs that you can fill out. That will get you on our email list, which is great because then you get the weekly email telling you what's going on. The November newsletter will be coming out soon. All good information to keep you abreast of all the happenings here. There's also a green visitor packet that you can take that has some good information about us that you can learn from. If you're on Zoom or YouTube, you can find a link for that visitor form in the chat. Again, we're so glad that you're all here with us today. Welcome to Minnesota Valley. It's a joy to be together. Tom, will you light our chalice for us this morning? And will you all please join me in our chalice lighting words for today? May the light of this chalice guide our way, so that we may listen, so that we can hear so that we can feel so that we can know, and know so that we can change ourselves and this world. Our opening hymn this morning is number 1008. That's in the teal hymnal, When My Heart is in a Holy Place. Every week we set aside a few moments to lift up the joys and sorrows that we carry with us in a shared circle. If you're on Zoom, you can share what's on your heart today in the chat. If you're on YouTube, you can use the comment to share with the YouTube community. If you're here in person, you can raise your hand and one of the ushers will come along with a microphone. Make sure that the microphone is in your hand and working so that our Zoomers and YouTubers can hear you. Who has something they'd like to share today?
Hi, my name is Yamini. So I have two concerns to share. One of my cousin was in a car accident in the lift and a few weeks ago, and she is badly suffering with headaches. So the insurance, the people, the other party wanted to settle outside the court, so she hired a lawyer and then kind of doing, but she's a PhD student and she's very hardworking kind of person, but her ability to do the things are bad. And one of my cousin is in India. She is suffering with her relationship. Please put your thoughts and in her through your prayers. Thank you.
Good morning. I have two announcements. These are both joys, I'm happy to say. The first is I've started singing with Vocal Essence this season. For anybody who's not familiar, it's a fabulous chorus. And we are doing our first concert next Saturday at 4 o'clock at Bethel University in their Benson Hall. And it's the concert version of the musical Christina, which most people aren't familiar with. I was not familiar with it. They say musical, but it's got sort of an operatic feel to it as well, but a really interesting, lovely story about immigration from Sweden. And there's going to be a whole display about immigration stories as well. So that's my first share, and I would love to see all of your beautiful and handsome faces there. Tickets are available. I did have the flyer out there a few weeks ago, but it seems to have disappeared. If you go to the Vocal Essence website, there's a link somewhere to get them. I know they're over half sold out at this point, so and that was as of almost a week ago. So please join us there. And announcement number 2 is about Gracie, my daughter. Her cross-country season is quickly winding down. She is now the conference champion, so she's having a strong finish to her senior year. Thank you. I'll pass it along to her. Thursday is the sections finals, so she's hoping to win that one too, and then on to state. And the other piece of that is she is now committed to running for the U of M team starting next year, so she's been accepted into the U and is going to be on their team. So it's been an exciting season for her. Thank you. Thank you.
Raising a winner.
I'm Kathy, proud grandma. My 21-year-old granddaughter, Amelia, 2 weeks ago ran the Twin Cities Marathon. She went over the line without breaking a sweat. She looked as darling as could be. Her hair wasn't messed up. Her bright white t-shirt and that darling smile.
Hi, I'm Leslie Swenson, and I have a joy, and my joy is that on November 2nd, which is a Saturday, we have our second meeting of First Saturday. We have a speaker talking about the electric grid. Information about this is in our newsletter. If you're interested in ordering lunch, Kathy Eager, who just spoke about her amazing granddaughter, is the one to contact about it, but all the information is in the newsletter. We hope to see you there. It is open to both men and women.
Matthew Schneider. This week, we were planning to have one of Antonio's helpers over on Friday, just kind of hang out with him, just a therapist that he's really connected to. Unfortunately, she had to cancel last minute due to family medical emergency with her mother. And I just want you guys to keep her mother in your thoughts and prayers for a speedy recovery. Thank you.
I have a joy. My 15-year-old grandson completed a marathon. It was a 50-mile run. It started at 6 o'clock in the morning, and I think it was around 7. I know it was dark when he finished. And he was the youngest one to ever complete that race. And his goal for next year is to run in the Superior 100 and be the youngest to ever complete the 100 mile. Well,
It's a joy and a concern.
it is, but here's the deal. My son, his dad, is also an ultra runner and has run the Superior 100. So they're going to run together. 15.
Amazing.
Hi, my name is Heather, and my husband John is in Denmark right now. So kind of a joy, and just send him well wishes. Interested in renewables. He's been sent there to look at heat capture from wastewater as a source of heating the Twin Cities, and also wastewater reuse, so reusing wastewater. So you can send him well wishes and send me well wishes because I'm here with the kids by myself.
I'm Kevin Gregerson, and I have a sorrow to share. Maybe it'll be a shared sorrow, I'm not certain. But I won't be here again until the middle of January, because on Saturday I'm leaving to drive to Arizona with my wife, and we'll be down there for 2 months and then a week driving back. So I'll be gone for 10 weeks. And the reason it's a sorrow for me is because I have really enjoyed this fellowship. I joined in March. I'm in the choir. And it has been truly a lovely experience for me to be here. And I'll miss you, and I may or may not watch the Sunday morning, but when the choir performs, I definitely will be watching. And sending Nicole my comments about what. And to Nicole, lovely, so enjoyed your teaching, and I look forward to being back in the choir back in January. Have a great winter. Well, actually, it's a fall. I'll be back in January when it gets really cold.
Is there anybody out in the lobby area? The doors are closed. I just can't see if there's anybody that has anything to share back there this morning. No? Anything on Zoom, Richard? No? Anybody else this morning? Oh, one more.
Barb Gilliand. I just can't let this moment pass without expressing the joy that I'm sure we all feel at this beautiful fall and the amazing colors of our trees. And I learned from Becky McPeak today that we have several plants on our property that don't bloom until fall because there are still pollinators needing. You might want to look at some of them after the service. But I'm very grateful for the beauty of this season.
All right. One final joy, go Lynx. Yeah. The Lynx are playing in the championship tonight in New York for winner take all. We lift this up and all the joys and sorrows that remain in the silent sanctuary of our hearts. Will you all please join in our sung response? As lovely as this hour that we spend together is, and it is, there are lots of other things going on here at the fellowship, so here is your plethora of announcements this morning. Downstairs at the information table after the service, you'll find OCC, which stands for Our Creative Community. They'll be there with signups. This is happening on November 16th. We're going to have performing arts, visual arts, and culinary arts. So if you want to sign up to share whatever creativity you have in any one of those areas, please do so downstairs. There's also a sign up there for folks who want to join on our amazing hospitality teams as well. After the service today, here in the sanctuary, David Olson will be offering to take photos of people. This is great because then we can add a photo to you in our membership directory, which is online. By the way, you all that are members would have gotten an invite as to how you can access the online database for membership. So please look for that. If you can't find it, email Jeannie and she'll send a new link out for you. But it's nice to have pictures to names. So if you don't have a picture, you can get one from David, or you can just email one to Jeannie, a selfie or something that you have that you like of yourself. Also, after the service today, the membership committee is meeting in the conference room, and we have a new group that's launching today, Exploring Humanism. They're going to be meeting every other month, and they'll be in the fireside room about 11:45. Grab a snack, grab some coffee for either of those meetings. I will go downstairs and ring a bell loudly and announce when they're starting to remind you to go upstairs if you're downstairs. Also happening this week, I know today we're talking about how to have discussions with people that might have differing opinions from us. And that works sometimes. And sometimes you just feel overwhelmed and maybe you need some space just to come and breathe and let it go. So right now we're having midweek centering space. That's every Wednesday at 5:30, goes till about 6 or 6:10. This coming Wednesday, Jeannie Picos is leading it. She's our administrator, communications director extraordinaire. She's also a poet. So she's leading a short writing exercise, which folks who have done that with her before really love. So if you're interested in that, that's Wednesday. Thursday, John's here even. We've got religious ethics and ideas, right? Thursday at 7 on Zoom. Voting issues, all of the voting issues, ranked choice, ID, all of it. All of it is in discussion for Thursday, so check that out. That's on Zoom. You can find the link for that in the newsletter, which is always available on our website. Next Saturday, the Wicca Church of Minnesota, which rents space from us, will be having their Samhain celebration. There's more information about that in the Friday email, or you can find it on their Facebook page, Wicca Church of Minnesota. I think that's at 6. Then next Sunday is our annual Day of Remembrance service. Those of you who have been here know that we set the sanctuary up different. It's a big circle. There's altar tables in the middle. We invite you to bring photos or mementos of loved ones or loved pets that have passed that you're holding in your heart to create our altar space. I heard the choir rehearsing a song for it earlier that's gorgeous. It's gorgeous, Nicole. I heard you guys rehearsing. It sounds amazing. So there's going to be beautiful music, lots of sharing time. It's a wonderful service. That's next Sunday at the regular service time. And then in the afternoon at 3 o'clock is our Halloween party. Now, I know you think, oh, that's for the kids. No, I'm telling you, before the pandemic, we had a Halloween party that was off the charts. Like, everybody came to it. The adults and everybody was dressed up, and it was super fun. So if you want to throw on a wig or a scary face, or if you just want to come and have a good time with other folks, please come. That's next Sunday at 3 o'clock. There can't possibly be any other announcements, but maybe they are. Did I miss anything? Because I would hate to go through that big list and somebody be like, but you forgot my thing, Laura. No? Did I get everything? Yes. Now, not all of our engagements happen right here in the building amongst ourselves. Every month we send half of what we collect here on Sundays out to a partner organization to do important work that supports our values. This month we're supporting Loose Job. That's right, Moose Jaw. Minnesota UU Social Justice Alliance. Right now, they're doing amazing work to help get the vote out, which we all know is so very, very important. So they're doing that on a local level. So support for that goes right to helping that work happen right now. Will the ushers please come forward to take the offering?
Thank you, Lark. Hi, everybody. Just letting you know, today, Greg and I are going to share a few thoughts on listening and how to deal with difficult conversations where there's division involved. After listening to the opening words today and the opening hymn, my job's done. Just read those over again, read Valerie Carr's book, and listen to that song several times, and you'll know everything you need to know. But I have a few other little things to say. Divisiveness, we all know about that, as you can see it every place you go. I mean, I go to the grocery store and I see people doing divisive things. Those divisions can seem so deep at times that it seems impossible for an individual to do anything to remedy it. At other times, they can be so painful or filled with anger that it seems too hard or too dangerous to try and bridge it. Yet, I try to keep in mind that these divisions are not things created by nature. They're not laws of the world. They're created by human beings. And that means that human beings, through their actions, can do something about them sometimes. Again, sometimes you can't. Sometimes you just have to step back and let things go for a while. But conversation is one court on which healing can begin. And I use the court analogy specifically because, I don't know if you watched the Lynx win by 2 points in the last 2 seconds. Bridget Carleton didn't just happen by chance to make those free throws. Pro basketball players will practice. They shoot anywhere between 150 and 500 practice free throws per day. Carleton practices like that so that when she's suddenly called upon to make the shot, she's ready. It's the same thing, I submit, with difficult conversations. To perform them well, you must prepare and practice. Now, in conversations, we bring our whole selves to them, not just our ideas, not just our opinions, and not just a bunch of facts that we may know. So internal preparation is in many ways more important than preparing what we're going to say or how we're going to say it. Now, I'm not saying those things aren't important. Just do a Google search for, I did this, questions to ask someone you disagree with. And you will get overwhelmed from Google on suggestions. So I prepared just a short little handout that you may have gotten at the door with some suggested questions you might ask when you're dealing with a difficult conversation or potential conversation. I'm not going to talk about those right now, but if anybody's interested afterwards, we'll find a place somewhere and we can discuss those if you want to talk about it more. So practice. Back in, I believe it was April or May of 2023, there was a hearing that was going to be held at the Capitol on the trans refuge bill. And some of you may remember that. It was eventually passed. I was going to go to that to see what goes on. Now, I had done training over the prior 8 years, basically, on how to deal with difficult conversations and how to listen. So I had this thought in mind, prepare. So when I was thinking of that, I was asking myself, first of all, why am I going there? Why would I have conversations? Do I want to change somebody's mind? Or do I want to prove that my ideas are right, my position is the correct one? If that's what I was thinking, I knew I should just stay home and save my breath. Never works. But then I thought, well, is my reason for going there to understand more about some other person? And if that's the case, okay, do that. Then I had to ask myself, is this a good time and a good place to hold a conversation? Now again, these are all things I'm thinking about before I even decide to go there. The Capitol, if you've been there, when it gets into the rotunda, there's just hollering back and forth, hollering back and forth. Not a good place to have conversations. However, there are quiet places, and it turned out that there was a hallway leading into the Senate chamber that was quiet, and people lined up to get in there. You have to ask yourself as well, and I did, am I going to be safe? If you feel you're not going to be safe, take care of yourself. That's kind of the bottom line in many ways. But if you feel you could be, then go and engage. Then, after, why am I having this? This is a good place. I ask myself, how does my body feel about this? What do I feel? Where do I feel this? And I felt right here in my stomach a tightness. And I thought, okay, what's that all about? I remembered our bodies are the very first things that come into a conversation. Before we say a word, and there's some evidence that people make their opinions on you within the first 1/10 of a second. And it's pretty hard to get over those. So if I come in looking like this, people are going to have a certain view of who I am. So why is that tension in my body? So I figured, okay, I have a practice, and this I had learned and practiced over time. If I'm going to feel tense, rather than being like this, what I learned for myself, and everybody has a different one, I'll stand there and just go. Very simple. I remind myself to do that, and I've trained myself, when I do that, my body relaxes. Bodies respond almost by reflex. So find some kind of action, some kind of thing. The other thing I do, and this is part of my spirituality, if there's a person in front of me, I visualize a connection of love going from my heart to their heart. So my body relaxes, and I visualize this connection. So then I ask myself, the next part of the preparation, what stories am I telling myself about the people I'm going to go see? So I'll run into somebody, and what stories am I going to be projecting onto them? I have a little story about that. About 6 years ago, I was at a flea market in Cornucopia, Wisconsin. And I was there with my wife and her family, her brother's family. There was a booth that had a banner across the top, Redneck Cosmetics. And my sister-in-law said, I'm not going to go over there. I'm not going to go over there. I'm not going to go over there. She had a certain story. I was curious what the heck that meant. So I went over and I found out that what it was this was a young guy in his late 20s who wanted to start making cosmetics. So he was doing salves, ointments, lip balms, all these sorts of things, and he was making them in his grandmother's kitchen. Very different story than what I thought, what I was telling myself. And I also realized the story I was telling myself about the trans refuge bill. And this is where it requires a certain amount of reflection and preparation and honesty with oneself. I was going there because I felt that it was important to do. Now that's too general. I thought, well, that doesn't really affect me much. I was going, I realized, because my oldest child is trans. And right away, the story became personal. And if I didn't know that story was there, it might pop up at the last minute and energize me in such a way that I wouldn't be able to listen. So I have to know what stories I'm bringing. The other thing I realized after really thinking about it was, when I was a little kid, I was picked on and bullied. And I just hate it when people are left out or excluded. So part of the preparation is finding out what really is going on in me and what am I bringing there. So if I know those two things, then I can realize I'm going to have emotional reaction to that and be somewhat prepared for it. Then the question is, how will I listen? Will I listen to react, or will I listen to go behind the words for connection, to understand, as Valerie Carr was pointing out? Will I listen because I'm genuinely curious about the other person, about how they've come to their positions, or will I listen to the other person thinking they are wrong and that somehow I can change their mind? Will I listen for what I don't know about them? Do I know that listening to someone doesn't mean I agree with them? It simply means that I recognize them as a human being, get this, you use, with an inherent worth and dignity that deserves respect. So, I'll prepare all those things. Then I question myself, okay, well, how do I practice this? And I was doing that with this idea of the thing at the Capitol in mind. But also, you can do that yourself if you want to do this sort of thing. You can do it in your imagination. Many athletes and many other performers visualize themselves doing an activity. And the visualization helps prepare one. So you can do this on your own sometime if you want. Imagine a scenario, imagine somebody, and imagine yourself going through those and find out what that feels like and take these different steps on preparing yourself to talk to them. One thing I did, you don't have to do this, but one thing I did for a long time was to practice it. I would listen to right-wing talk radio. That can be a very interesting exercise. I go to, I won't say the station, but I go to news stations that I know I don't agree with and try to listen to understand and let all those feelings come up so I know how they come up and I know how I will react in certain situations. So at the Capitol, what happened is we got there and people were doing the usual thing, and participatory democracy is just a beautiful thing to see, even when it involves conflict. Now, people were respectful there, but they were definitely not on the same side. So I was standing in line waiting, and there was a young trans man next to me that I was in conversation with. He works with trans youth in Minneapolis, and in front of me, there was this older guy. And I noticed that every once in a while, he would do a side eye as somebody walked by. And that somebody always was somebody who looked very different than I do and he did. So he kept doing that. And I thought, okay, is this a person I could get to know? At some point, I don't remember exactly how, we caught each other's eyes. And I said, wow, it's really crowded up here. He said, yeah, it gets crowded. We had a few little back and forth exchanges about what the situation was there. And then for some reason, he turned to me and said, I was in the military, and I took an oath that I will put down my life to protect this country from enemies, foreign and domestic. And I thought, uh-oh. So I paused for a minute, went like this, imagine the heart going out, took a breath, and said, does that apply to the people here who you disagree with? And he nodded. My body was kind of trembling, so I figured, don't push any further. Know what your limits are. Know where you can be. It was not my job to go there and change his mind. My goal was to go there and understand him, go back to the goal, what it is that you wanted to do. So we kind of exchanged a few other little things, and then they opened the door to the Senate chamber, and before I could go to the next stage, which is asking him, how did you come up with that? What happened? I'd phrase it differently, but what happened in your life that brought you there? I know what happened in my life that brought me where I was. He's got a story that he believes in, and he feels that what he believes is as right as much as I feel I believe what is right. So that was a situation where I practiced, and it was really quite, I felt pretty good about myself. There you go. The other point, when you're preparing, be humble. Otherwise, your skills will grow rusty, and you'll be humbled by life experiences. Now, this is a small thing. A group of friends that my wife Ann and I have met with for years now, like 8 of us, were together a week ago writing postcards to mail out for get out the vote things. Wonderful time. Everybody was writing postcards and singing music and stuff. Then we had a dinner, and then we were sitting around talking, and the talk turned to the election, and it turned specifically to how do those people really believe the things that they believe? Now, I was all among friends, right? So I felt pretty much safe. Steve, one of the guys, said, yeah, people are talking about Walz and his military service, and some people are saying he claims that he is claiming a better, position or rank. There you go. Thank you very much. That helps. A rank than he deserves. Bam. I turned and said, well, a lot of people also say that he did really well. And I realized at that moment that I was sitting forward in my chair, my body was tense, and I thought, damn. I had not prepared myself. I had forgotten to practice. I got out of practice. When you get out of practice, you're going to get tripped up. Even in small little things like that. I had to repair that with Steve. I had to say, boy, sorry, I'm not attacking you. I was triggered. And later that night, I realized why I was triggered. It wasn't just that I was trying to avoid misinformation. I was afraid that he was right. And I didn't know that story that was playing in the back of my mind. And it took me over. It's kind of like a little creature comes up, grabs my mind, and runs away with my mind, So, practice skills for listening. And remember that practice is not something that's intended to make perfect. It's intended to help you. And if you do that, you can, in some cases, open the door a little bit maybe to a conversation in which you can find out more about the other person and hopefully establish some kind of connection. Greg, I now hand off the baton to you.
Is it okay for me to call you brothers and sisters? Yes. Okay, because I love to address my fellow human beings as brothers and sisters. Sometimes when I'm working at Walgreens and I'm dealing with the general public every single day, I address as sisters and brothers. Sometimes I call my Latino friends guapo. Sometimes I call their wives bonita. But that's how I greet. This morning, I'm going to present to you a person named Daryl. He's African American, in his 60s to maybe 70 years old. And he felt called to do something that few other human beings have ever thought about doing. So we're going to watch a video, and then I'll explain to you his calling.
You know, music is a wonderful thing. It brings people together. It brought a Klansman together with a black guy. After that, it dawned on me, Daryl, the answer to your question that's been plaguing you, how can you hate me when you don't even know me? Who better to ask than someone who would join an organization that has over 100-year history of practicing hating people who do not look like them and people who do not believe as they believe.
My name is Scott Shepard. I'm 59 years old. I was born and raised in Indianola, Mississippi. I came from a very dysfunctional family. My dad was a very violent alcoholic. I had low self-esteem. I didn't like myself. I didn't like anyone, actually. I had a lot of anger in me. I was looking for just a place in life, something. And actually, the main thing I guess I was looking for was love, because I didn't feel that at home. The racial atmosphere was very tense due to the civil rights movement. It was one of those cities, railroad tracks that run through the middle of town. Whites lived on one side and blacks lived on the other. From my years of 17 on up, I was involved with not just the Ku Klux Klan, but other white supremacist groups, where as soon as I took the oath, I had an immediate feeling of importance. I spent very close to 20 years of my life in the white supremacist movement. I had this little bitty voice in the back of my head all the time. I mean, from day one, wondering, saying, do you really believe the things that you're doing? My mother was not racist. My dad was not racist. In fact, I was raised by a black lady. She had actually worked for my grandmother. My mother was adopted. I loved her, and she loved me. She loved my entire family, and all that was still in the back of my mind. I was starting to realize, what I was doing was wrong. I had no friends. I did even contemplate suicide. I was very depressed, and in that dark period of not knowing what to do.
We should have been talking about this kind of thing for a long time and bringing some kind of understanding about the racial divide.
I reached out to Daryl after seeing him on television. Daryl just popped into my life. Just the actions of him responding, I started feeling better inside, and I started having just a little bit of hope. Daryl extended his hand, and actually just extended his heart too, and we became brothers. And I withdrew from the race. Daryl saved my life, really, because I had lost relationships with my family. One of my twin boys started picking up on the things that I was doing inside the Ku Klux Klan, and I'm very fortunate that I got out or changed my life before my son got involved. Our relationships became positive again, and then I was able to start developing another relationship with my daughter, and I'm able to visit with my granddaughters. I didn't even know them, but we got a great relationship with them now. I learned a lot from Daryl. We found a lot of things in common, and I've mimicked Daryl to try to do the same thing and try to help some of these people that are involved. if it wasn't for Daryl, I'd still be stuck in that hole not knowing what to do, and I couldn't help anyone.
How do you feel today, a black man holding this robe and hood?
Well, actually, I no longer need that. I no longer need that robe and that hood to feel powerful for where I'm at now. It means a lot to me that you have the robe because of the relationship that you and I have built. I gave up something that really made me feel important and made me feel like I was someone, and I gave it to you. I don't need it anymore. I mean, I gave up that life.
You are not this person?
I am not that person anymore. I don't miss that robe at all. And not only does it mean a lot to me, it means a lot to my family too. And you are our family too. I don't know what I'd do without you.
We are a family. And this family is one that's going to last.
You bet it is.
Oh, you know it is.
All right, brothers and sisters, you've seen just one example of a human being who decided to see others with opposing point of view as human beings. How did he start this? He started because his family traveled during his childhood. So he was exposed a lot of different social situations in different parts of the world. Second thing was the reality of the human experience of music and listening to music and playing the music. Daryl met a grand wizard of the KKK over playing the piano. Because Daryl was playing the jazzy blues type of music. And the Grand Wizard came over to him in the bar and asked him, wow, I didn't know that you could play that type of music. I don't know the origin of this music, but it sounds really good to me. So Daryl gave him a whole explanation and a whole story behind the music and how it got started. So they met over that universal principle. There's two things that can unite human beings from opposing point of views in one place. You know what those two things are? Music and food. Exactly. Music and food. One thing I learned about listening is looking for commonalities. Looking for the humanity in another human being. Looking for the divine in another human being. Second of all, I go into the conversation with an open mind. What can I learn as a result of this new relationship? What can I learn by listening? I got another story for you. I had a friend in high school by the name of Job Quershi. He was Native American. And he reminded me of some of my Mexican friends at the time. And in high school, I was playing baseball. So I kind of looked at Jay, we called him Jay. And when I learned about him was, he wasn't Mexican, he was Native American. But he looked Mexican to me because in high school, that was my first time meeting people from different points of view in different parts of the world, of different races and cultures, outside of my little world called the inner city ghetto of Milwaukee, which is 99% black. So I meet Jay. We take various classes together, British authors, American authors, history. And somehow, in some way, through some of those classes, we get into these discussions, and the teachers allowed us to discuss things that were on our mind in an informal sense. So here I am, fundamentalist, saved, born again, young Christian guy, walking around with the Holy Bible in his hand. Okay? I'm so enthused and so filled up with enthusiasm about this new Christian faith that I was carrying around. Oh my God, I was just so excited about being saved and sanctified and all that good old stuff. So, guess what happened? In my high school, I was allowed to discuss the Bible and all that. So, my goal was to try to convert people. Lord have mercy. It took me a long time to realize how humble I needed to be. And Jay was one of my main examples of that. I went into the conversation without listening, without understanding. And Jay presented me a very challenging opportunity. He was coming from the Native American point of view. I come to find out, no, he didn't believe in no personal God. He didn't believe in no Bible. He didn't believe in going to church. No, not at all. And this is one of the main reasons. I had to sit down and listen for his story. And one of the stories he shared with me was, okay, Greg, you remember American history? Yeah. What happened during the Trail of Tears? And I had to sit there and think, the Trail of Tears, way back in the 1800s. And who was that president? Was it Thomas Jefferson? Andrew Jackson, whatever his name was? He exploited Jay's ancestors to the point that they were made to walk across from Georgia, Florida, South Carolina area, all the way west to Oklahoma in the middle of winter. And I don't have to tell you the story of what happened. This will lead up to his reasoning for why he didn't believe in God. So throughout that experience of our relationship, I had to learn how to listen to understand and not assume different things about another human being before it was time for me to listen to their story. Because every one of us have a reality. Every one of us have a story to share. But when we get into the context in which we must share that story with someone from a different point of view, then it's easy to become defensive. Then it's easy to become offensive, and the goal becomes, who will I be able to shout over first? Who would I be able to win first? So the second thing is question one's motivation for listening. Listen to understand, listen to learn. Because just like what happened with Daryl and his ministry to someone who lives and understands and comes from a totally different point of view, he was able to develop relationships over time with those other human beings. Thus, their lives were changed. Then once their lives were changed, what happened to the lives of their families? Come on, y'all. They changed. That's what our goal could be. Not only our lives get changed, but the lives of human beings that we don't even know gets changed because the light of the possibilities and the positiveness and the understanding will exponentially grow. That's science. The ripples, what they call a butterfly effect, that actually affects many, many other human relationships that we don't even know. And that can go beyond just a session of listening. That's what my goal is. Listen to understand so that not only oneself is humble and changed, but in effect, human beings are changed years into the future. So brothers and sisters, when you get into a situation in which you have to listen to someone from an opposing point of view, put your emotions aside as best you can. We are all human, we're not robots. We're not artificial intelligence. We're not clones, and we're not Vulcans, from Star Trek universe. And we're not the Borg. So we're not going to have any automatic devices that's going to help us to perceive things. Go in with an open mind, go in with humbleness, and try to listen to what story they present. Because we all have a story, we all have reasons why we believe the way we believe. So listen for that story. Because there's so many different things out there that's being used to divide us. I mean, any type of subject in the world, even the weather. People will even use the weather to divide. I mean, there are people out there talking about hurricanes being controlled by the government. There are people that actually put out death threats against meteorologists because the belief in theories about the United States government seeding a hurricane structure with the airplanes that fly through, those hurricane hunter planes. They go and they investigate the structure of the storm, and they go around the eye in the middle of the storm. There are people that believe that they're seeding the hurricanes to go a certain direction using those airplanes. And that's impacting how we and how the National Weather Service and FEMA can go out and help people. Brothers and sisters, as I conclude today, please find commonality in oneself and in one's fellow human beings. Because you will meet people who will have different points of view. But try your best to understand. Don't be humble. Because in the end, you will not only benefit from the relationship, but the relationship will go on and be benefited by other human beings in our distant futures that we don't even know. Stay awesome, brothers and sisters.
Thank you, Tom and Greg, so much. Greg, I'm going to put you on the spot, just a little titch here. I want to invite one more word for you, sibling. Because we got some non-binary folks, and so brothers and sisters and siblings, or brothers and sisters and friends.
Thank you.
We're just going to offer that.
Thank you.
Yeah. We're singing Building Bridges, is that right? How are we doing that? 3 parts. Yeah, you go ahead.
So it's number 1023 in the teal book. It's a round, and so what our plan is to sing it through once with everybody, and then we're going to divide into groups, 1, 2, 3. After the first unison, where we all go through it, this group will start, number 1. Then after they've started, you guys will come in as part 2. You guys will come in part 3. We'll sing it in parts 2 times. And then at the end, we'll all sing the last line together. You all rock.
Friends, will you join me for the words for extinguishing our chalice? We extinguish this flame, the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. So membership and exploring humanism, it's 11:40 now. Let's say 11:55 for those. I'll ring the bell to remind you when to go to the conference room or the fireside room. I want to close with some more words from Valerie Coward from her book, See No Stranger. Deep listening is an act of surrender. We risk being changed by what we hear. Empathy is cognitive and emotional. To inhabit another person's view of the world is to feel the world with them. But I also know that it's okay if I don't feel very much for them at all. I just need to feel safe enough to stay curious. The most critical part of listening is asking what is at stake for the other person. I try to understand what matters for them, not what I think matters.